I'm here joined by Nathan, one of our valued clients and friends. And today we're just going to take the time to go through the journey he had with us and our team and how he and his wife have scaled the portfolio working together with us, as well as the background and where it all started. So once again, my name's Arjun. I'm the head of research at Investicate. And Nathan, hello.
G'day, Arj. Nice to be with you.
Likewise, my friend. Mate, I thought I'd just take it back to our journey and where it all started. And the first thing that comes to when I think of yourself and your wife on this journey is actually building a team together. We were introduced through your financial planner, but just looking back, you had people around you like financial planners, mortgage brokers, and now bringing a buyer's agency in your team. How important is the whole aspect of team building to you, and why did it all start?
That team thing's massive. My wife and I, we're got big plans like a lot of people out there, but are really busy with full-time jobs and children and all those types of things that we just can't put. We know we should be doing things, but we just can't put the focus in that we need to. And we're not the experts, so we want to rely on people to make sure that we can make the right decisions.
Got it. And mate, on this journey, you've invested in property before. You've owned property prior to us working together. What do you feel was that difference maker to go, hey, look, I've reflected on the journey we've had to date, and I'd like someone on our side now to take the next steps?
Yeah, probably 6 years ago, I did what I thought was a lot of research into buyer's agents and property strategists, if you will. Thought I'd chosen the right one. In the end, it wasn't. So I was a little bit skeptical in actually going with another buyer's agent, but went, no, don't. Maybe I need to take some accountability on my process, and sometimes things just don't work out for whatever reason. So this time around, again, we were really cautious. I didn't want to throw money at something just for the sake of it and hope it worked. And then I went through that process. I spoke to probably 3 or 4 different sort of strategists / buyer's agents, and just spent some time working out which ones felt right, which ones felt like a sale and a conversion, and that I was just becoming part of their current pipeline that they already had lined up, and I was a number. And look, at the end of the day, when I spoke to you and Nikita and the team, what was really interesting there is, firstly, and this is a good thing, it wasn't a yep, let's do this. I almost had to qualify to come in and speak with you. And that wasn't about having a huge amount of money, but that the interest was genuine and that we wanted to go on this journey together. And then it was less of a sell and more of a, hey, if this makes sense and we're both aligned, let's work together. And that really, really resonated with me.
And mate, when you think of that alignment, like, what do you feel were some of the things that really were the pieces to that alignment? Because you're not new, as you said, to buyer's agents. You're not new to wealth professionals with your financial planner on your side and mortgage professionals. What was the alignment that you felt?
I think your background outside of just a pure play property professional and your background prior to that was really, really interesting. I think the fact that you had you do have your own research division as well, and what you do put into that. The research, the way it was displayed, was far more thorough and also user-friendly, really engaging and easy to read, and was beyond just the standard report you could pretty much get from anyone else. But the way it was sort of broken down into layperson's terms also really, really resonated with us. My wife as well is super skeptical. I'm the investment optimist in terms of let's give it a crack, and then she calms me down and goes, right, okay, does this truly make sense? And puts me and sometimes the people who we work through the ringer to just to make sure that it's not just me and my optimism sometimes. So it just felt, like I said before, it wasn't a sales pitch. It was, hey, if we do this, I want to do it once with you. And then when we do it once, we want to do it multiple times. And then the proof was just purely in the pudding once we did the first one. It felt right. And that's why we've kept going.
On that point of just keeping going, we purchased 3 properties in a very short amount of time together. But more importantly, you diversified yourself across 3 different cities and states. You saw a mixture of capital growth across them and saw that come into the mix in a short period of time. If you go back to that first one transitioning to the subsequent, what was in that first one for you that felt right to go, hey, you know what? I found the right team. I'm here to now just turn the on switch and scale. Like, what was the moment there that was changing for you?
Again, that service in so we met up a couple of times. We went through areas of interest. So there was no major, huge pressure of you need to go here, here, or here. It was, okay, here are 20, 30, whatever our number was that you shared with us, different regions to consider across the country. Narrow them down. We then narrowed those down to, I think we had 4 or 5 or somewhere there, that we felt comfortable with. And that's really important, that we need to feel comfortable as well and not just put that blind trust in the buyer. We don't have to know everything, but there's got to be that gut trust and feeling, and that really shone through.
Yeah. And mate, one thing I'm really interested to know about it, and I haven't actually spoken to you about this, but I noticed something very powerful in your investing journey. It was whether it was a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom or a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, in one city outside your backyard or a couple of kilometers away to thousands or hundreds of kilometers away, you didn't really seem to have a connect with any of those points of emotion, whether it be beds, bath, look, feel, materials, your backyard or not in your backyard. How did you come to separate yourselves on that and just focus on the numbers?
I was kind of going to answer just focus on the numbers, but
I beat you to it, man. I beat you to it.
You haven't given me that out. But look, it was, yes, within reason, there's a level of materialism, if you will, around it. But when you look at the data eventually, firstly, we weren't going to live in any of these properties. So we all have our own designs of what we want a house to look like. So I didn't have to worry about that. And I think that's really important to put that aside and go, I don't have to live in this because it may or may not be to my tastes. Great properties, don't get me wrong. If you want to rent them, please do. But at the same time, removing that is really important because it's not about me and my taste. It's what works for the individual. So then looking at that data, again, like I said, that you really simplify and take the time to explain with us, and understanding the demographic and what they want in those areas was really, really helpful in making those decisions. And then when we looked at the numbers and we went through all the numbers, it was explained really well, but also on top of that, they weren't all too good to be true. Nothing was overpromised. And you know what? In every single one of the scenarios, the rents that were forecasted were actually undercooked. And we've ended up doing better on every single one of those properties than the rents that we put in those modelings, but it's still stacked up with those lower rents.
I guess that shows that component that was such an important value to you, the right trust. And the property industry, unfortunately, is full of overcooking and overplaying, and you'll get anything that we say, but then really it doesn't eventuate. So I appreciate you calling that out, mate, because that's a key point to relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you think of the capital growth and actually just the decision making piece, mate, we're in the middle of a freaking pandemic. What are you doing? What made you just get up and go, no, this is the time for us to build wealth?
Look, we saw the market moving. We also had another property that there was an opportunity to sell. And because of that, we went, okay, we can either take that money and try and play in the same space or go and diversify. And we really made the decision to know the timing is right. And also this is a long-term game for us. So yes, of course, we all want our assets to go up, particularly straight away on those early weeks, months, and years. But ultimately, this wasn't something we were trying to time the market, get in and out in 1, 2, 3 years. We want to be in these properties for 10, 20, who knows, maybe we won't even sell them. So we knew that money was cheap, for one, but they're fundamentally good areas that people are going to want to live in.
Yeah. And you've on that point actually, experienced in those properties, not just buying during pandemic, but you've also experienced now a different piece to the puzzle, which is an interest rate cycle and that changing. Looking back at it, we talk a lot about rental pressure and rental data. How do you kind of look at this journey now and go, you know what, I feel comfortable in weathering whatever comes from changing environments because of how we've set ourselves up? And what do you think were the standouts to set yourself up to handle these sorts of things ahead?
I think firstly, don't get greedy. Don't try and do too much too soon. Make sure individually or as a collective that you have that investment buffer. So don't put every last dollar of your savings to get off the ground. Make sure there is that safety net. We also, across our properties, fixed 2 of them for a number of years. So we've got a couple of years grace with our current rates. We've got another one that is variable, but at the same time, we've got that offset account that'll just chip away at that principal amount as well, which will really, really help us. So again, it really comes down to not getting too ahead of yourselves. Start that little bit slowly, make sure it all works out. And then when the time's right, then you can look at going out and beyond what you've got.
Yeah. Mate, the last one from me is now that you look at this and you go, hey, I've got my team set up. I've been on this rapid journey of wealth creation and I'm heading closer towards my goal. You've seen equity growth in short time across these 3 assets. You've seen strong rental results and increasing rents. Now, as you prepare for the next phase of the future of your growing your portfolio, I want you to reflect on one thing. And this is something that I guess people can easily get caught up in. Buyers agents aren't cheap. We charge per property. We have multiple dealings together. How do you now look at this journey and go, hey, you know what? I'm comfortable to see this team play an important part, not just the 3 times today, but ongoing to grow my portfolio to hit that goal. I guess, what sort of advice do you have for people who might be considering that investment that goes into this all?
Firstly, the simplest thing is trust your gut. If it doesn't quite feel right, don't do it. Above and beyond that, though, you know what, mate? I've totally forgotten your question. What was it again?
Well, it means we're not charging enough, mate. So we got
right, the cost. Again, I strip it back to my own job and my wife's job, and we're experts or very skilled in our fields, and people pay us for that. We're not property experts. We don't have the data and the research and the insights, and the time that it would take for us to do that, even if we had the intellect to do it as well, we just don't have. The other thing is, if we were going about it ourselves, there's also the cost of, okay, I probably wouldn't have bought 3 properties in 3 different states. So I would have had a much tighter circle of investments, which means I'm not as diversified for different property fluctuations and cycles from different states. Also, we may well have had to go and fly to some locations potentially. We wouldn't have had, or thanks to the team you've set up, we got videos of every single property going through, and an individual going through and giving commentary, and a lot of times as well. So we really felt like we were there without having to fly there. Also, the relationships that you and your team have set up over the years means that you're going to get across deals earlier, or that final phone call just might go to us as a collective rather than that other person down the street or interstate to say, for the last $500, this is what it needs to get you there or not. And that really helps too. So above and beyond that, you're negotiation experts. You know what's right, what's not right. And if the emotion's not in there, or for us, sometimes if the emotion did get in there, you can be that foil for us to just go, hey, yes, it's nice, but there'll be another one in another week. So let's just not worry about that. The numbers don't add up. Let's move on. And all of that combined I'm not going to tell you how much I'd pay, but I'd happily pay again, at least with a small discount, I'm sure.
Mate, thank you so much. An absolute gentleman, and really appreciate your time here today. And thank you for sharing the importance, I guess, of just building that team around you, because I know many investors, whether it's their first property or like in your cases, 3+, we feel that there's that importance of building a team that can just absolutely scale and create game-changing results.
Thanks, Arj. Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to do this with you, and look forward to our ongoing chats that we have, but also getting our next property together as well.
Thanks, Nate. Cheers.
Thanks, mate.